Hello, Star Trek fans, and welcome to the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast. My name is Kim.
And my name is James.
And we're watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine from the beginning, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are on Season 7, Episode 10, It's Only a Paper Moon. This episode aired December 30th, 1998. Before we talk about this one, anything to say about last week's episode, Covenant?
Yes, Ducat makes a great cult leader.
Well, yeah, he does, but not good enough. He wasn't committed enough.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him, though. Where is he now? What is he up to? I mean, he's just causing trouble somewhere. I'm sure we'll find out.
I am not going to give you any spoilers.
Good.
Kira should have taken the shot, though.
Totally. Maybe he's on Ryza, hanging out with Vanessa Williams.
Yeah, he'd be pretty obvious there.
Yeah, in a Speedo. Hey. Well, it's your day for notes, so ready when you are.
Let's get started. We open with Rom, Lita, and Ezri, who are on their way to greet Nog, who is arriving back on the station after his hospital stay from losing a leg in the epic battle of Siege AR-558. Ezri is giving counseling advice as the other two seem a little anxious. At one point, Lita is concerned that Nog may only want to have real family around.
Oh.
Rom here, being the supportive partner, immediately jumps in and says, "You are real family."
She is.
I really like that. I appreciate the depiction of a functional relationship for a change.
For a change, yeah. Plus, it was awfully nice of her to be writing multiple letters to him in the time he was away. I mean, even if he didn't respond, it was still nice.
Yeah. Well, the shuttle has arrived, and there's a whole ensemble waiting for Nog, but he's the last off the shuttle, walking very stiffly with a cane. Everyone starts applauding, and they joke with Nog as his orders are medical leave. Sisko has arranged a welcome back party in the wardroom, but Nog makes an excuse not to attend and just wants to return to his quarters. We immediately see something is off here. He even turns down Jake's offer to help with his bag. We close on the sad scene of Nog hobbling out of the docking bay, all alone, and into the opening credits.
Yeah, I'm not sure this was the right decision for us all to come stand here and gawk at him, and then the clapping, and it seems like Ezri should have gotten an update from the doctors at the hospital and have known that he was going to be in the state when he got here. So parading everybody in to stand and stare, maybe not the right choice.
Right. So, quick question here. Do you think Ezri has found the invisible counselor yet? You know, the one that's supposed to have been on the station that we never saw?
Oh, yeah.
I think Miles even mentioned them by name.
Couple of times, yeah. I forgot their name. No, that person's a goner.
I was wondering that perhaps this was actually just a whole ruse, just to pad Sisko's staff numbers. There wasn't actually a counselor. They just kept on claiming the allowances for it.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Did she replace that person? Maybe that person was just part-time, who would just fly in from somewhere when needed. Headcanon.
Oh, yeah, that we're straight into the headcanon here. In Nog's quarters, he's out of uniform, and Ezri is giving him a rundown of everything that's been happening on the station. Nog is being very quiet and explains why he's walking with a cane when his biosynthetic leg is working perfectly. He seems very touchy about it.
Oh, well,
telling Ezri that Dr. Ben Bassett must have told her all his problems are in his head, and he's crazy. Ezri tells him that that's not what the doctor said, but Nog replies, that's what he thinks. He definitely seems a little off here. He's not like the Nog we've seen before.
Yeah. It's really upsetting that 300 years in the future, doctors are still behaving this way. Telling people the problem is all in their head. It's like, thanks, man.
He goes on to tell her that he needs the cane because his leg continues to hurt, and he spent the last 3 weeks talking to counselors. He just wants to be left alone. Ezri agrees this is enough for today and exits. I question whether this is a good counseling move. Isn't this what Miles wanted when he got back to the station from hard time?
To just be left alone?
And then almost killed himself?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about Ezri's counseling decisions in this episode.
Yeah. Nog then starts playing the Vic Fontaine tune that Julian was playing right before the Battle of AR-558 started, and he just lies down on his bunk. We cut to Ezri and Sisko discussing Nog. Apparently, he's been sleeping most of the day, missing physical therapy sessions, and Ezri says his counseling sessions are going nowhere.
Sisko says he's sleeping over 18 hours a day, so he's turned into a cat.
Oh, that would make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Cisco asks what they should do, and Esri suggests they just take a watch and wait approach.
Oh, you can't take wait and watch with physical therapy. If he's skipping his physical therapy appointments, he's actually putting his own health at risk now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're putting your recovery at risk. You might never recover if you don't get through your physical therapy while you're healing.
Right.
Yikes.
It's just not good all round.
No, it's terrible.
Oh, by the way, in this scene, her spots look absolutely awesome.
Just in this scene?
For some reason, I noticed in this scene, her spots are really pronounced. They look really good.
Oh.
You know, that would be a really easy, cheap cosplay. Just attend Comic-Con as a Trill with the spots.
I could easily go as Esri. I have the same hair.
You do. Yeah, you could go as Esri.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say more of a cross between Esri and Kira. That would be more fitting for you.
Yeah.
Although, the big difference is you would have taken the shot.
Headshot.
Yes, you would. Back in Nog and Jake's quarters, and we see that Nog has basically put Vic's recording on permanent repeat.
Oh, God.
For 3 days.
No, I can't. When I hear the same song like 3 or 4 times in a row, I can never listen to it again.
Jake finally cracks. He's had enough and turns it off. We also learn that Nog has barely spoken to Jake since he got back.
Well, he's been sleeping 18 hours a day.
Yeah. Nog tells Jake, if you want to help me, leave me alone. Wow.
Very sad.
There's a lot of parallels with Miles's problems from Hard Time.
Yeah.
A frustrated Jake takes the data rod, telling him, if you want to hear the song again, rent a holosuite. I can understand Jake's frustration here.
Agreed.
We now follow Nog as he leaves the quarters, and in a turbo lift, the flashing lights seem to trigger a PTSD-like flashback to AR-558 and the ambush by the Jem'Hadar where he got shot and lost his leg. Do you think he's telling anyone about this?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, and it's highly unlikely that this has only happened once. It only happens once in this episode, but I bet it's happening every time he closes his eyes or anytime he hears a loud noise or something.
Yeah.
And if no one knows that it's happening to him, they're probably not giving him the right kind of advice because somebody needs to help him learn how to meditate his way through that.
It's not specifically called out in the episode, but I wonder if this is an indicator that Nog is keeping a lot of things internally and just not telling anyone. I think that maybe that's the subtext if he's keeping it all wrapped up.
Yeah. He's probably, as a Ferengi, had to learn to do that a lot.
Oh, yeah. Why do you think that?
Well, we talked quite a bit about it before he joined Starfleet, where, like, his treatment of women. And, you know, we were talking about how is he going to behave that way and talk about having women chew food for him and whatever. How is he going to behave that way when he gets to Starfleet? Well, there was no way he was going to and be able to succeed. So he probably learned to keep a lot of that sort of stuff inside. And then when something bad happened where he needs to get it out, now he doesn't have those tools because he's been working really hard to hide things.
Yeah.
And he also might be feeling, look, it's really tough. This is why you go to counseling. He might be feeling, was I wrong? Maybe Ferengi can't be in Starfleet. Like maybe this is a flaw in my character, not just as me as a person, but in my whole species. So there's so much going on in there. And if he's just keeping it inside, it's only going to get worse.
That's a good take. Okay.
I worry about people.
Nog starts up and enters one of the holosuites, and Vic's program is running. We immediately get a pally in here, so I was really worried there was going to be a lot of pallies in this episode. Fortunately, we only get one from Vic.
Yeah, he says a lot of other things, not so much pally,
Well, Vic is happy to see Nog and knows all about who he is, and this is probably his programming. And Nog requests for him to sing I'll Be Seeing You, nothing else. Nog explains it's a special tune. It helped him once when he was unhappy. And we get yet another rendition of I'll Be Seeing You.
I should have timed how much of this episode was lost to singing.
I was wondering whether the writers of this song get a royalty payment each time it's played, or if it's just a bulk payment for the whole episode.
It depends on how old the song is and whether or not the studio owned it or something. Who knows?
During the song, Nog starts having a flashback to when he was injured on AR-558. Bashir has started playing the song in the background while an injured Nog lies on a table. He tells Bashir, it's kind of nice. I think that was just the effect of the drugs.
Maybe.
And we go back to Vic finishing a version of the song, and he tells Nog, I know 15 different arrangements, and you've just listened to all of them. Vic then asks Nog about his leg, and Nog, surprisingly, starts opening up a little, telling him his leg hurts all the time, and despite the doctors saying it must be in his head, it still hurts all the time. And Vic does something that I expect none of the doctors have said to him, which is, I believe you. And I think that's the important thing right there.
Yeah.
They're probably too busy, as Nog says, using their tricorders, scanning his nerves and saying, well, there's no nerve signals going through, so you can't be feeling pain. Taking it from a completely technical standpoint.
That is absolute baloney.
I've come to the end of my decision tree. I do not know what to do. Therefore, it is not real. Yeah, we kind of saw that in After Image, where Bashir got to the end of his decision tree and was like, man, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, he needs his head examined. I find it so depressing that we're 300 years in the future and we still haven't found a way to deal with mental health and how it affects our physical health and vice versa.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's in his head. It's still something that is happening and needs to be treated and needs to be dealt with. Just telling him to get over it or that it's not real. That's what they would do now. It's certainly what they would have done in the 90s when this was written. But you're in the future. I mean, come on, people.
Vic asks if he can play something else, but Nog doesn't want to hear anymore. He tells Vic he just wants to go back to bed, and as he goes to leave, he stops and tells Vic, I don't want to go back to my quarters. Actually, I don't want to go back to my life.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
He asks Vic if he can stay with him in the holosuite, and Nog says he's on medical leave. He can choose his own rehab facility. Vic agrees, saying, okay, from now on, you're staying with me. And we play into the ad break with the weirdest little musical riff.
Yes.
Was that lifted from the Love Boat?
We've said that a couple of times, I think, this season, where the music is just weird. It's not Star Trek music. It doesn't sound like it fits with the show. And yet it happens just that one time in this episode. And you're like, what the hell was that?
That was the weirdest thing.
I totally agree. I did like in the scene when Vic pointed at him and said, crazy. I thought that was funny. I don't often like what Vic says, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Right.
Like, crazy, man.
We go to the conference room, and an upset Rom is saying, my son is a one-legged crazy man.
I laughed out loud. He's very upset, but that was funny.
Yes. Cisco is concerned too, but Esri maintains this may be a good thing.
Esri.
Quark amusingly describes it as hiding in one of Bashir's adolescent programs. And then they all stop picking on Julian's programs. I did like that. That was funny.
I loved it. They all say Julian's programs are dumb and childish. He's like, hey.
Esri sticks to her guns as she's convinced this might actually be good for Nog. And Julian even supports her idea. She tells Cisco that she'll talk to Vic about Nog's emotional condition. Quark, also being true to form, brings up who will be paying for all this holosuite time, and Cisco just gives him a look. And Quark says, I guess I will.
Yeah, I like that.
That was back to season 1 blackmail Quark.
But that's also Quark's nephew, so he should want to.
And I did like Cisco saying to him, oh, that's very generous of you.
Yeah. I think the fact that we all get on this bandwagon, this is a terrible idea and would never work. And when Julian agrees, you would think that's when they would go, oh, maybe this is a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, Julian thinks it's a good idea. It's probably not a good idea then.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. There were a lot of people at this conference on Nog's mental health. I wonder if it was appropriate to have Quark and Jake there.
Well, I was wondering if maybe they called it, like maybe Jake called it, or maybe Rom did, that it wasn't like a Cisco calling a conference or a meeting, an official meeting.
It wasn't official. It was...
Yeah. It was more like his friends and family responding to him and trying to figure out what to do.
Okay, yeah.
Because, you really shouldn't be talking about we've talked about this before too, about his private medical details. Esri shouldn't just be telling everybody that.
Here's my headcanon here.
Mm-hmm.
It was Quark calling it because he wanted to find out who was going to pay for the holosuite time.
Oh, well, that's possible, yeah. I think it's quite likely that Rom did.
And then invited everyone.
Yeah, or maybe Lita.
Yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't Esri who just said, come on in here and I'll tell you all the details.
Man, you won't believe how crazy he is.
I hope that's not what happened.
In the Vegas program, Esri is explaining to Vic, and he says he will help. He even has some ideas of his own, how he can be useful.
Which Esri doesn't ask him about. I mean, would you not want some details to make sure that we're making good decisions?
That would be a logical assumption, yes.
I mean, we're dealing with a fragile soldier who's been through a traumatic event, and we're going to just let the lounge singing hologram decide his treatment and just keep it to himself. I mean, it's crazy.
You know, when you put it like that, it does seem a little, questionable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In Vic's suite, Nog is watching the movie Shane and actually seems to be really into it. And meanwhile, Vic is working on his books.
Nog has never looked better. He looks amazing in that stripy sweater. I thought it was great. It was like a great color on him. It was a great fit. Yeah, and he looked a little bit chipper. I mean, he suddenly looks great.
He really seemed into the movie.
I also like in this scene, Vic calls him Noggles.
Yes.
Instead of Pally. Real upgrade.
I did like how Nog points out that none of his books and accounting are actually real.
Yeah.
And Vic sort of brings up, well, it is to him.
Yeah, he's like, I can just put money in your account because it's not really money.
I guess it's all tied to the base programming of the Hollow story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this gets cut short because Vic has to go and perform, and Nog says he'd like to watch. As a gift for Nog, Vic has got him a new cane, which looks like kind of a giant eagle head, also a bit like the Grand Negus's cane that Nog points out.
Yeah.
And it has a built-in cigarette lighter, so you know it's the 60s.
Which I love, and Nog is like, what's that for?
Setting things on fire.
Yeah.
Nog is actually laughing at this point and really seems to be getting into the spirit of the program. So I guess it is helping in some way?
Well, I guess the benefit of it is it kind of is like life. He's interacting with people. They just don't happen to be real people.
Yeah.
So it's not like just lying in your bed pouting.
Overanalysis time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's because other than Vic, the people, the NPCs in the program, don't know who he is, don't know any background, don't have any expectation from him. He's not the hero. He has nothing to live up to or no expectations.
I think that's part of it, and nobody's staring at his leg.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I mean, later we find out it's a bit more than that, but I'm sure in the beginning, that's a plus.
Right.
And like I said, it feels like you're out in the world, even though you're really not.
Yeah. In the Hollow Suite, Nog is watching Vic perform, and Jake comes in with a date called Keisha, who appears to be Bajoran, but she's not wearing a Bajoran earring. So...
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah. Is she cult of the Par-Wraith, or is she a Bajoran atheist?
No, I don't know. I didn't notice she wasn't wearing an earring, but she was Bajoran.
Yeah. She had earrings, but not one of the Bajoran earrings.
Maybe it was in her purse. She took it off to be in character.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Nog isn't being terribly friendly and seems just very off.
Yeah.
Keisha tries talking to him, and he's even more standoffish and ends up just being plain rude.
Yeah.
He continues to be very abrasive, and when Jake just straight asks, "What's wrong with you?" he tells him to just get out, then knocks over a table and punches Jake. Vic intervenes and throws Nog out of the club, telling him, "You don't hit customers."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of a violent outburst. I think that's a nod to some of the worst symptoms of PTSD. Back in the suite, Nog tells Vic he'll apologize to Jake and Keisha, and tells him he really doesn't know what happened. She called him a hero and things just went downhill. Vic tells him, "She called you a hero and for that you slugged your best friend? Remind me to never give you a compliment." It's strange how they're managing to actually work in a little bit of humor, even if it's dark humor, into kind of a serious story.
Yeah.
But not, I would say, in a ham-fisted way. Vic tells Nog he still needs to do his books and asks, does he know anything about bookkeeping? An actual smiling Nog replies, "I'm a Ferengi. It's in our blood." Vic gives him the big ledger books that literally look like something from a story, and Nog asks, "Where's his computer?" Vic holds up a pencil, telling him, "It's 1962. What do you want from me?" The other thing in this scene is Vic brings up how he's actually tired, as his program has never been run this long. Right. I think he says that people, come and listen to a few tunes and then shut it down. Nog also asks Vic, when he says he has to go and sleep, if he actually dreams. What was the point of the dream question? Because Vic
I
doesn't
don't know.
answer it.
Yeah, that was my only note in this scene is why didn't he answer the question?
Yeah, that was kind of odd. But it was interesting that nobody's run the program for long enough for Vic, as the holo character, to actually get tired.
Well, it's also funny to think that a hologram would get tired and that any of these characters would actually need to sleep or to rest.
Yeah, it's a very in-depth holo program. It's Moriarty level.
Yeah, so they keep telling us.
It's the Moriarty of lounge singers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it.
You couldn't sound any less convinced. Back into the club, and Esri has come in to see Nog. Vic tells her he's still in the suite working on the books. She goes on to say that it's time for Nog to leave the holosuite. He can't hide there forever. He has to face reality. Vic tells her he's had too much reality lately, and that if Nog chooses to be there, Starfleet rules means he can stay. Nog arrives telling Esri if he's forced to leave, he'll resign his commission, and Esri backs off a little. Nog then tells them he's gone over Vic's books, and Vic's made so much money he could actually build a new casino. He excuses himself from a very confused-looking Esri and heads off with Vic into the ad break.
The whole thing is funny. I mean, she's talking to Vic, not to Nog.
Yes.
And all I kept thinking was, this is a video game. What are we doing?
We're talking to the NPCs.
Yes.
Back from the break, we're off into a montage of Vic and Nog in the club, working on plans for a new casino and watching movies. All the while, the background music is Vic singing, "It's Only a Paper Moon." There's a short scene of Esri in the club watching and seeing Nog standing talking to some NPCs without leaning on his cane.
Yeah.
And she smiles and leaves.
That's when she should have gone, that's it. Remember?
Look at this guy.
Because we just released After Image today.
Yes. We continue in the club, and Nog seems to be acting as some kind of manager for the waitstaff, and seems somewhat pleased to see his dad and Lita enter. Nog seems to be very much enjoying the program and actually looks happy. They're both a little confused or concerned with just how much Nog is into the program.
Right.
Esri is talking to Vic, and she's impressed at how it's helping Nog. He tells her that Nog actually ran up a flight of stairs the day before. Esri says Vic was right. All Nog needed was a break from reality. And now all that's left is for him to decide when he's ready to go back. And she's leaving that up to Vic. This might fall under your questionable counseling thing again, Kim.
Well, I was wondering if she was using reverse psychology on Vic, which is even funnier on a program, because she seemed to be sort of manipulating him at this point to get him to see that it was time for Nog to go. But again,
she did.
This is a video game. And now we're using reverse psychology on the video game.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, this is all very questionable.
Back again to Vic's suite, and Nog is working on the casino plans. But Vic takes them from Nog, telling him, "It's time to go, kid." Nog protests, asking, "Go where?" And Vic replies, "You know where. This is just fantasy. It's not real." Vic then says, this is all real to him, and he's never been on for this long. He's enjoyed it. It's been fun. And he's going to return the favor to Nog and give him his life back. Nog explains he doesn't want that life anymore. He's perfectly happy here. A frustrated Vic says, "There is no here. The only thing that is not an illusion is you." Nog protests, saying he needs more time. He's not ready. But Vic says, "I'm sorry, kid. I hate to do this to you," and calls, "Computer, end program." It all dissolves, leaving Nog alone in the holosuite. Into another dramatic ad break. I thought that was interesting of Vic didn't ease into things. Vic just turns it off.
Well, I would argue he doesn't really know better. He doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
I do think that's what Esri was sort of pushing for.
Yeah.
Like at some point, we really got to push the boat out. If we wait for him to decide, he may never leave.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. That did seem to be what Esri was sort of hinting at. Because Vic had plans for other things to do with Nog.
Yes.
And then after talking with Esri was like, he needs to leave. This needs to end.
Well, and it helped too in that scene that Ram and Lita were there. And she was pointing out, that they're basically waiting for him to come back to his life.
Yeah.
I think that made a big difference too. Not to Nog, but to Vic.
After the break, Nog is still in the holosuite working on a panel, and Miles comes in to say he noticed an anomaly and didn't know it was Nog. Nog goes on to explain how he's having difficulty getting the Vegas program to run, and Miles explains how Vic's program is a little different from normal programs, how Vic effectively has free will. If Vic wants to be off, he's off, and there's nothing we can do about it.
And nobody is worried about this? Yes, come on.
He can also bypass security protocols, hack into different holo programs, also get into the communications grid.
Mm-hmm. Moriarty.
He's a very different program.
Mm-hmm.
After the chief leaves, Vic appears, telling Nog he has to go. Nog gets really upset and confesses to Vic he can't leave because he's scared. A tearful Nog tells him how, before the war, he needed to prove himself, to be a good soldier. He saw a lot of combat. He saw a lot of people die, but he never thought it could happen to him. And then, suddenly, Dr. Bashir is cutting his leg off. He tells Vic, if I could get shot, if I could lose my leg, then anything could happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I could die tomorrow, and he doesn't know if he's ready to face that. But if he stays in the holosuite, at least he knows what his future will be like.
Well, until the station is attacked or something.
Yeah, the station could get destroyed. Vic tells him if he stays, he'll still die, little by little. He doesn't know what's going to happen to Nog out there, but you've got to play the cards life deals you. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but at least you're in the game. Nog doesn't reply, but walks to the holosuite door, pauses for a moment, and then walks out. Alone in the holosuite, Vic walks over to the panel Nog was working on and picks up his cane, saying, crazy, which is the callback to the comment from earlier in the show.
It's not bad advice to get back in the game and play the cards that you're dealt, because we all have to. I mean, it's maybe not the best advice for someone struggling with PTSD.
Yeah.
Because really, that's what you need to be paying attention to. You need to help them deal with that, because it's very difficult to deal with the world around you when you've got these flashes of terrible things happening in your head. And so someone's got to deal with that.
Well, I'm going to leap into overanalysis here. I think a big part of this story here is Vic was the one person who was really prepared to listen to Nog and believe him, and not to immediately jump to trying to solve a problem or looking at Nog as this is something that needs to be fixed, and these are the steps that we do it. Oh, we do the intense counseling, we do physical therapy, we do all these other things. Vic was prepared to, if you like, do it subtly, to do it at a pace that maybe Vic's program was better able to do.
Well, I think maybe that's how Nog is looking at it in his head.
Yeah.
But Esri or any counselor would have been willing to listen. And it's not the job of the counselor to say, oh, your leg doesn't really hurt. I mean, I've been to counseling for pain before. Not once did that doctor try to tell me that my pain wasn't real, or that I should ignore it, or it was in my head, or whatever. But the counselor, if properly trained, is going to listen.
But from Nog's perspective, she's still Starfleet.
Yeah. I feel like it was, I don't know, I guess, you know me, I'm so empathetic about the way we treat people.
Yeah.
Especially team members. And I was looking at it more like the problem was what came out at the end, which was that he was afraid.
Yeah.
And if he admitted he was afraid, it was falling all the way back to those early fears of, am I good enough to be in Starfleet? Are Ferengi good enough to be in Starfleet?
Yeah. His need to succeed in this role as the first Ferengi to basically do something that isn't about making latinum.
To me, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But even though we're not paying enough attention to the PTSD, yes, he only had that one flash. But I just think about, like, when I had the car accident and I was having flashes of that accident for a long time afterwards, and it made me sort of funny in the car. And I didn't want to drive to that same intersection. You have to deal with that. You have to talk about that. And that's not something he even told Vic. So he's still got to get through some therapy. I'm kind of thinking what happened here. We're jumping to overanalysis. We're not even to the end of the episode. But
we're deep in overanalysis. We'll stay here.
I'm sort of thinking this video game, which is all that it is, except he's not sitting on the couch holding a controller. He's actually, able to interact.
Yeah.
His time there allowed him to focus on something else, right? Something that wasn't people asking him questions or staring at his leg or him even having to worry about his place in Starfleet as a Ferengi. Instead, he found some problems to solve. Oh, I'm going to build this casino, right? He's playing different parts of the game, and it allowed him to stop focusing on it. And then he could realize slowly maybe that, oh, maybe I can walk without this cane. And he doesn't even notice it because it's just happening naturally. That part, I would say, the video game or the Holosuite program contributed to that.
Well, he has nobody who's expecting anything from him in the game. Whereas if he's really driven to succeed in Starfleet, then everybody who is in Starfleet who's around him, potentially he could look at that as maybe they were judging him, that he's walking with a cane, that he lost his leg, that he has these problems. And if you like, it makes him feel lesser because he's not living up to those goals he set himself.
Yeah.
So it lets him relax. Not be under that kind of pressure? Yeah,
because the judgments of a hologram don't hurt.
Yeah.
But the judgment of Cisco probably hurts.
Yeah, even if it's unspoken, he can still...
Or if it's not really
even
happening.
Real, he can still feel like it is.
Yeah. Again, this is really what seeing a shrink will help you with, but not a video game.
Back to the episode, and in Quark's bar, Lita and Rom are telling Quark that Nog is like a new man. And just as they say that, Nog comes down the spiral staircase, still in the tux. He just says, hi. Lita asks if he's okay, and Nog replies, no, but I will be. And then hugs her and Rom.
Hugs with his family, the most compassionate moment among Ferengi ever.
Yes.
In the history of Star Trek.
I noticed Quark is standing in the background.
No, he comes up to the hug.
He does?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
He did.
I have to rewatch
Just
that.
at the end. To me, his no, but I will be comment was a little bit about what I was saying earlier.
Yes.
Where I was able to get through the video game. I can walk now, but I got to deal with what's going on. I did think that one line delivery was great. And all of Aaron Eisenberg in the previous scene where he's talking to Vic and he's crying and he's talking about being afraid. I thought Aaron Eisenberg as Nog was great. This is maybe the best moment of acting we've gotten from him. Maybe the most challenged he's been.
Yes.
But also really, really good.
Well, he's had a few moments where he's really been able to show his skills, like the speech to Cisco about joining Starfleet. That's a great speech from him. Back to the holosuite, and Nog is now in uniform. He starts up Bashir 62 and goes in to talk to Vic. He tells Vic that he's back on limited duty and how he feels different, older, and thanks Vic for everything he did. He goes on to say he's arranged with Quark to keep Vic's program running 26 hours a day as a gift for everything he did for him. We also learn that he's taking Keisha and Jake out for dinner, so that's good that he's reconciled with Jake.
Yes.
And we end on Vic in the club performing I've Got the World on a String. And we close on the lines, what a world, what a life, I'm in love, life is a beautiful thing. Close to the outside shot of the station. The end.
Wow, I can't believe you wrote down those lyrics.
I thought those lyrics were important. It was kind of showing what Vic was, it was what he was feeling.
All right.
What a world, what a life, I'm in love.
Okay, once was enough.
Oh, do you want me to start singing Paper Moon or...
As long as I don't have to listen to Vic. No. How about Moon River? They played Moon River, but at least that song I like. All right, well, do you have any other over-analysis?
Not very much. I would think, though, that holo programs would be a really effective method for treating veterans with PTSD or other problems or issues. It would have worked really well for Wild Molly.
Well, I think one of the things that would be good about it is you could sort of relive the same situation, but with a different outcome. Rather than trying to see different outcomes in your mind, you actually could have a different outcome. And then something that you have witnessed and been a part of, I could see that might help to blunt it a bit.
Yeah, I would think, holosuite would be an amazing therapeutic tool.
Well, and any time, like when they tell you to try to picture yourself somewhere else to help calm yourself down.
Yeah.
You could just do that in the holosuite.
Right.
You don't have to just close your eyes and picture it. There it is.
Yeah, it could be a significant help. So that
it could. Mm-hmm.
So that part of it I thought would be surprising because I thought that would be a tool that would already be in use.
Yeah, but you could get lost in that fake reality as well, just like what Nog kind of did, because it's too real.
The first real story about this kind of thing, Ensign Barkley, also known as
Yep.
Howling Mad Murdoch.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there have been movies, too, about people getting lost in virtual reality.
And my second and probably final point is I think Starfleet needs to really communicate medical advice better.
Yeah, stop sharing it with everybody except for the people who really need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems so surprising that both his commanding officer and Esri seemed so ill-prepared for the state that Nog was in.
Yeah, exactly.
Headcanon here, perhaps Starfleet is having so many people come through the system because of the war situation going on that a lot of things are falling through the cracks.
Yeah, that's probably a very good guess. There's probably a lot of traumatized people.
Yeah.
Good point.
I suppose my final point is, I wonder how Sergeant Badass is doing. I wonder what he's up to.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
He's had some PTSD, that guy.
Oh, no, I don't think. I think that's the point. He is like a true manly man, super soldier, doesn't feel any remorse, no PTSD, manages to bury his emotions.
I disagree. Because you go back to the world, although maybe he didn't go back to the world. He probably went back to the front line, so maybe it's okay.
Yeah. There's not a lot of over-analysis in this episode, so that wraps it up for me. Over to you.
Well, we've done some. I have a couple of points.
Go.
One is I've had PTSD and you don't just have it once. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And I think my second point is we really haven't come very far in mental health treatments. It's funny how we try to advance the science and the technology on the show, but we don't advance something like this. There's a perfect opportunity to do a sort of multi-pronged approach where we never talk about medication.
Yeah.
For anxiety or depression or anything in Star Trek, which is, or at least on this show, I shouldn't say in Star Trek in general, but on this show, we don't ever talk about it. And you've got that option on top of counseling. And then what if you did a third prong in the approach and you used the holosuite?
Oh.
Because Esri could have been a part of this instead of her just sort of sitting in the corner and watching. But it could be used as a great tool if you put all those things together. I could see it being quite valuable.
Here's an additional prong to add to that. What about the use of beta Zs to help mental health issues?
Well, I think that could be very helpful, but it could also be quite invasive.
Yeah.
But also, didn't we lose beta Z to the Dominion? Did we get it back?
I do not know if we've got it back yet.
I hope we got it back. But yeah, at least using someone like Troy, she couldn't read your mind, but, she could at least empathize.
Yeah, well, that hadn't been written into the canon yet. If you remember Picard.
What?
She got inside what's-his-name's mind.
Well, yeah, but, yeah. I don't want to spoil anything from Picard if people haven't watched it, but it could also have been because of the DNA, the Borg DNA.
What else you got?
My last item is, this is very much one of those, this is a humongous problem, but we've only got 46 minutes to solve it.
Yes.
So it's sort of a typical episodic solution, to a pretty devastating problem.
Yep.
We had such an opportunity here to show counseling can work, and we decided not to. That's disappointing.
Yeah, you just need to go to Vegas and hang out with a lounge singer.
In the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, they knew all about mental health treatments in 1962.
Oh, dear.
In Las Vegas.
Yes.
All right. For women in the future, I didn't even have the section in my notes because there wasn't a lot to say. Lita is only in it really briefly, but she showed a lot of care for Ram and a lot of care for being part of this family, her family. She'd written letters, and I just thought that just a little bit of Lita was really good here.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed with Esri's counseling, but anybody could be crap at their job. But she...
Hey, it's better than Julian's.
She didn't seem like she was really doing a great job. I mean, in the end, I feel like she did sort of come through by pushing on Vic to get Nog moving. But not great, maybe at her job.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's not a bad thing for women in the future. So I will just go right to rating. No, wait, I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't even bring it up when we were watching it.
What's that?
Vic calls Esri Dollface. That did annoy me. I must have missed that when we were going through, because that's absolutely in my notes. But that I don't like. That's uncalled for, and she should correct him. But you know who doesn't think she should correct him? The people who write stuff like that. But you should correct people when they do things like that to you. All right, let's now go to rating. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. What is your rating?
Okay.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when I watched this episode many, many years ago, and in subsequent rewatchings, I hated this episode with an absolute vengeance. I really did not like it. I remember this one as just like...
Because you don't like Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, being forced to rewatch it several times.
Yes. Doing your notes.
Yeah. I've watched it 3 times, if not... No, I think I've watched it 4 times now. And my view of this episode has 180'd. I actually liked it. I think Eisenberg did a really great job in the character of Nog. And I actually liked Vic here. And I liked sort of this, almost the subtext. I think I said, it's almost like nobody really was listening to what Nog was saying. And Nog was under this enormous amount of pressure, which was lifted when he was with Vic in this simulation. And coming back and rewatching this episode and reanalyzing it, I actually decided it's actually pretty good. I did actually enjoy it, and I liked Nog's story. Even with the flaws of, like, it's the classic, it's you got to wrap everything up in 44 minutes. I did enjoy it. I thought it was well done. Thumbs up.
Oh, that surprises me.
Yes.
Well, I agree it's better in rewatch.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I was like, eye roll, eye roll, eye roll. The second time I watched it to do my notes, I did like it more. And maybe because I knew what was coming. So I knew how it was going to end. And I did think that final scene between, well, not the final one, but the previous one. Yeah, between Nog and Vic was really good. And Aaron Eisenberg was good in this entire episode.
Yeah.
Never was he not good. He was very, very good. And he was great in that scene, where he needed to be. So I'm not thrilled about the portrayal of counseling and therapy. I'm not super thrilled about that, but it is the 90s. So I probably have to get over that. When I first saw this episode, the title of the episode, I had heard that it was that episode where we deal with Nog being injured.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the details of what any of that meant. And so I had assumed this was going to be a really deep emotional episode. And then it was kind of goofy. So this is why expectations are dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think my expectations were in the wrong place for the kind of episode this was. Because the goofiness of it, my first time through, I was like, it's so dumb. I mean, we're dealing with a really serious thing here, and it's a video game, and the guy keeps singing, and it was so annoying.
I think that's the problem I had originally watching this.
I can see that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I agree with you. I think in the end, this episode is okay.
Yeah.
It's not, meh is not the right word for it. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it's barely up because I do think it has a lot of problems and a lot of things that they could have done better. But the second time through, I did like it, and I really started to recognize how good the acting was in it.
Yeah.
So I will give it a thumbs up.
It's kind of funny. It was not the rating I would have expected a week ago.
No, I am surprised that that's where you got after... Yeah, the first time we talked about it and you just went, ugh. But okay, great. So that wraps up Season 7, Episode 10. Come back next week for Episode 11. In the meantime, if you'd like to send us your own overanalysis of this or any episode, or if you just want to say something nice, you can email us at ReBingeIT@gmail.com or tweet us at ReBingeIT. We're also on Instagram and YouTube at ReBingeIT. If you'd like to join the Facebook group for Talk Through Media, it is facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts.
Thanks for joining us on the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast.
That's it for me.
And that's it from me.